Bum, bum, Richard is back. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Get this shit together here and figure out what's going on. So anyway, pay me. Just more crazy kind of asinine nonsense when you suggest people have a right to be heard. Um, it was a conversation really not about the Constitution in the first place, but just people's what rights they should or shouldn't have. But even in the Constitution, you don't have a right to force a senator to listen to you. You don't have a right to demand that your congressman read your letters. You're some fucking whack job sending your senator letters every day about the flat earth and the conspiracy theory of the Jews taking away the truth of the flat earth. He's not required to hear you. He doesn't give a fuck about you. And he shouldn't have to. Your idea that somebody has a right to be heard, you're out of your fucking mind. Yeah, Mr. Senator, I have a right to be heard by you. So sit down, and I'm gonna fucking jabber on for the next hour about my bullshit. That's absolutely not true. You don't have a right to force the government, uh, to get your redress against the government. That means taking the government to court. There's a whole bunch of limitations on that redress for grievances, is what it's called. And the government says, well, we'll let you sue us for some things, and some things we'll just take right off the table. That we're not even going to allow a judge to decide if he'll even let the case go forward. We're just going to take this whole long list of things right off the table, and you can't do that. The first step in getting redress from the government is not you have a right to do it. It's getting permission from the government. The government doesn't have to let your dumbass sue it. It gives you an exemption from its sovereignty and allows you to do it. You don't have a right to, the thing that people are so fucking stupid again. They can't read what this shit right in front of them says. You don't have a right to sue. You don't have a right to get redress from the government. They tricked you once again. They said you have a right to petition the government for redress. That means you have a right to file a lawsuit, and if the government gives a fuck and wants to give you an exemption and allow you to sue a sovereign entity, which is them, then they'll go ahead and do it. The Constitution doesn't say you have a right to be heard by the government, you have a right to get redress. It says you have a right to petition a court, and maybe the court will help you out, or maybe not. Uh, that's what you get. There's no right to any trial. There's no right to force the government to hear your whole case and, well, I want to sue you because the earth isn't flat. No, I'm sorry, you don't have a right to force us to listen to your idiotic nonsense bullshit today. Fuck off, is what the government's going to say. So, even legitimate redress, where you have a legitimate lawsuit, everybody agrees is legitimate. There's a whole bunch of things that the government won't allow you to sue for, but naturally they're going to allow you to sue other citizens for it, but they're not going to let you sue them for it. Things like punitive damages and, the actual redress that you should get and you would get if it wasn't the government. They're exempt from all that. There's no, you just, once again, you don't know what you're talking about. There's no right to be heard. That's this whole freedom of expression and freedom of speech stuff is so out of fucking control that there are people now that think, oh, well, lying is a right and you have the right to be heard, so I can force you to listen to me. People are fucking ignorant. The truth is that the way the First Amendment is written, It would kind of imply that. It would imply you can yell fire in a movie theater. I understand that, but that's not the way it's been interpreted over the years by the Supreme Court, correctly or incorrectly, doesn't really matter. What does matter is if we reworded it, rewrote it, turned it into a paragraph and explained exactly what we meant and said that's what we meant. And if we wanted to change our mind, we would make another amendment, and this is the way it is. We could clear these things up. We could change, we could change freedom of speech all the way back to 1889 by, making it the opposite. I'm not suggesting we do that, but I'm saying we could make it completely different, and we could take away any power that the Supreme Court has had since 1889 with a new law rendering all the Supreme Court decisions that would be against the new amendment null and void because of the new amendment. We could do that if we wanted to. People are so afraid to touch the Constitution that it's actually like they think the Constitution, they confuse the Constitution and the Bible as though they think the Constitution was written by God and some prophets from God instead of just some clown-ass people who wanted to create a nation so powerful it could dictate its terms to the rest of the world. That's why America was set up in 1789. That's why it was changed from the government it was with 13 sovereign nations as a union, like the European Union, into one sovereign nation. And listen to that again carefully. In order to create a nation so powerful, it can dictate the terms of the new world to the old world, which meant dictate whatever they wanted to everyone. People are, oh, well, they just meant Europe. All they said was the old world. They didn't really care about Africa or Australia or New Zealand or some island in the Philippines they'd never heard of yet. That's a nonsense argument. They're very clear. They want to create a nation so powerful they could dictate to everyone else. They didn't say we want to create a nation so powerful we can make sure everyone has democracy and can make their own decisions. That's pretty much the exact fucking opposite of what they said. And shortly after creating the second United States of America, the second United States of America was completely different, a completely different fucking country than the first one. They started, of course, mandating large amounts of tax money to come to build the Navy and the Army. That's what it was for. They bankrupted. The conspiracy theorists out there have some things right historically, and it's kind of too bad they don't know this stuff because they could demonstrate in history some things that they believe are happening now. I don't believe that. But the truth is the federal government bankrupted the currency called the Continental. That was the name of it at the time. They bankrupted the Continental that they were using to fight with the Revolutionary War up until 1789. The sovereign nations refused to send any money to the federal government, so they printed up more and more and more. Nobody wanted it. Next thing you know, they got piles of fucking worthless bills. So they decide that they're going to create what? Same thing they do all the time, right? They're going to create a new government. They created a Federal Reserve. It was called the First Bank of the United States, made by Alexander Hamilton. Who is the head of the First Federal Reserve? The Bank of New York, owned by Alexander Hamilton. Who's the head of the Federal Reserve today? The head of the Bank of New York. Alexander Hamilton is dead. The Bank of New York is still in charge, But so what do? They create a whole new country. They create a whole new document, created a whole new currency. The other one's worthless. We'll create a dollar. What's called a dollar. Okay. Yeah, it's backed by gold, blah, blah, blah. I don't really give a shit about that story. But the point is that they're bullshitting you. You were creating a government to give you rights. Who fucking told you that? The United States has been going along since 1776 just fine with 13 sovereign nations. You name me 1 right that you have because of the federal Constitution that you didn't have in any one of the 13 sovereign nations? Name me one right. Do you think there was some state that didn't allow freedom of speech? I can name you a shit pile of rights that were taken away. I can name you a shit pile of rights that the government got that they didn't have before. You got the right to devalue your money. They had the right to try you twice at a trial. Stocks, options, that sort of thing. Well, we can talk about that, Bulldog. What do you want to talk about with stocks, options, that sort of thing? I think it's really important. I'm glad you brought it up, Bulldog, because now is the time that, we're on a new wave of investing. There'll be a nice fucking bull market, and you kids out there that have never invested before, go ahead and give it a whirl, but just understand there will be a bubble someday. And if you really want to be a buy and hold investor and want to see 50% of your money disappear, only to hold on to it and let it come back again someday, go ahead and invest in the stock market. And you don't have to lose 50%. Just sell when it drops down someday and becomes obviously a bear market. But yeah, Bulldog, talking about stocks and options and that sort of thing is a fantastic idea going into this this bull market. I link you. I'm sorry. Fuck, I'm looking. I guess I could link you. Armando said we want to get rid of the clowns, but Bulldog's not a clown, is he? I'm not calling him a clown. I actually just watched a video with Bulldog and Rose Patton was on it. Well, I've been doing it for, 25 years myself, Bulldog, so it would be interesting to have a conversation if we disagree on things and as to why. How would I link you? I don't quite I'm really not stupid, but I don't understand that Google's Hangout shit at all. And Armando just typed Bulldog, we're cutting off all the jokers. Can you just type what you want to talk about? I mean, you can say puts and calls all you want. That doesn't mean anything. I think everybody knows what puts and calls are. Just saying puts and calls doesn't really get the conversation going. I guess I could say, which do you like better, puts or calls? And why? Would you like them the same or not? No, they don't. I asked you which you like better, puts or calls, and you come back, no, they don't. Depends. That's not really a good answer, dude. I mean, maybe you don't like to type or something, but if I ask you which you like better and why, depends is kind of the obvious. I'm not giving you shit. I'm trying to get a conversation going, but yes, I know it depends. That's what the answer I was trying to get to. But hold on a second. Yeah. So, okay, sorry, I got a little distracted there for a second. Okay. I want you to know, see, that's the problem. We're not going to have a conversation if you're going to question me and say what I don't know or try to trap me into something or some kind of bullshit like that. I told you I've been doing this shit for 25 years. I do it every day, every single day. Okay, every single day I trade options. I'm watching options. I'm watching stocks. Okay, and I don't mind debating you. There are legitimate debates in the stock market. But the question I asked Bulldog is, which does he like better, puts or calls? There is a myth, one of those urban myth kind of things that gets put around because it's a close answer, but it's not a very exact answer. And that is that puts and calls have the same, the expression be puts and calls have the same risk. One is just sort of opposite of the other. If you own $100 stock and you sell a call option, that is the same as selling a put option on the $100 stock. Now the difference is they have what's called a put skew and a call skew. What that means is one of them might actually be worth a slightly more money because of that what's called put or call skew. So they have the same risk, but one might actually be worth a little more money. So you might get a little more money for one than the other. However, when I asked you, which do you like better, puts or calls, they have the same risk mathematically. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean that they have the same risk psychologically. Okay. So psychologically, if somebody owns a put option and it starts dropping substantially through the price, psychologically they're going to hold on to that put option. Whereas if people who own calls, call options and own that stock and the stock starts dropping, have a much higher tendency to sell that stock and stop the losses than people who own put options. Even though it's the exact same risk, even though it really doesn't matter mathematically, psychologically, people who sell call options, no, I don't invite no one else. I mean, no one, just you. If you want to talk, Richard, okay. I won't invite anybody. That's up to you, Armando. But you know, Bulldog seemed to want to talk about put and call options, and now he's not saying anything. I don't know what to say, but you know, I can't do anything about that. But oh, you're speaking to Bulldog. Well, let Flamingo Boot in here because he, you know, I wanted to sort of talk. He wants to talk about, like, say, an $8,000 portfolio to get going kind of thing, and I want to sort of set him up with that. You know, the last where we left off, Flamingo, was, you know, what to do with the money, and I thought about it for you, and what I'm going to recommend is that you go in with buying ETFs on the indexes. That's about as easy as it gets. And the S&P is a slow mover, but it drops less. The Dow might actually outdo the NASDAQ this time because the reason it's going to go up is because of industrials. So the Dow and the NASDAQ, they're DIA and QQQ are the symbols. And I like to see you just drop $2,000 on both those. That leaves you two, not four, left over to invest if it was to drop down a lot. If not, you're 50% invested. We'll wait for a pullback along the way. But if you drop two on both those, anytime you want, you know, you got to start someplace. And I'm not necessarily telling you not to buy at the all-time high because it's gonna be a lot fucking higher someday. So normally I wouldn't say that, and I'm only saying that with half of your money just to get you going. But it's not a bad idea anyway. If it takes a big dump, you'll be in you know, back to zero in no time at all anyway. But generally I wouldn't say that. But since you want to get in, you know, it's going to keep going up, and the time to pick, you know, where the low is to get in is going to be very, very difficult. So just fucking hold your nose. Well, we will be, well, okay, if you want, because cash is king when you need cash. And here's the short answer. Okay, and I love the way you phrase the question. Okay, if you drop to expect, because nobody makes 100% in the market every year. That's an unreasonable rate of return to expect off stocks. The stock that went up the very most up until now is NVIDIA. It went up 186%. So, well, first of all, Bulldog, your question is stupid. Do you know puts and calls? You should be asking, do you know what a spread and a strangle and a butterfly, you know, a butterfly option is, and what's a condor spread, and you know, asking if people, do you know puts and calls, makes you look like a fucking moron. Okay, so you try to question people about what they know about shit. Make sure you know. Do you know puts and calls? That's like saying, "Hey man, do you know the football and the field goal?" I'm a football expert, man. Do you know the football and the field goal? Come on, stop being fucking stupid. So anyhow, the reason is because it's an unreasonable rate of return. People don't double their money every single year. And I'm not talking to you right now, Bulldog. I'm talking to the guy that asked me the question about why he can't expect to make $8,000 in 1 year from 4. Yeah, calling yourself an expert 16 times and not saying anything doesn't show any expertise. I'm sure you are an expert. Saying so 10 times isn't helping anybody. So anyway, there you go. So as an expert, I want to sell 4 calls on a stock on weekly options. How do I do that, Bulldog? I don't know how they work. What a moron. All right, so you're just a troll. All right, fine. So that's the answer as to why you're not going to turn 4 into 8. However, the reason I'm trying to get you to invest is you might turn 4 into 8 in the Trump years. I'm not saying that's not possible. I'm not saying it never happens. I'm saying it's an unrealistic expectation. That's what I'm saying. The reason I want you to invest is because you're going to make really good money. Okay? A put and a call option are just the opposite of each other, Armando. If let's say you own a candy bar, okay, and we'll call it a stock, but just imagine it as a candy bar, right? And I'm really worried that the price of candy bars is going to go skyrocketing up before I get paid next Friday. Okay, and I'm saying, well, geez, I'm afraid that Armando, he's got a candy bar for $1. And I think those son of a bitch is going to go up to $2 next week, and I want Armando's candy bar, but he thinks it's only worth $1. So I'm going to snooker him in a way, and I'm going to go to Armando and say, Armando, next Friday, I'll buy that candy bar from you for $1 if you give me 10 cents right now. If you give me 10 cents right now, I'm giving you the option to put that candy bar to me. Okay, that's kind of how the expression works. But you're putting that candy bar to me. You're forcing me to buy that candy bar for $1. And you say to yourself, I think that I'm a little concerned, or why would Armando, want 10 cents for his candy bar? Is because he might want to sell it for $1.10. He might not agree. He might not think it's going to $2. Okay, so he says, fine. You want to buy my fucking candy bar for $1? That's what I paid for it. You want to give me 10 cents on top of it? Fine. I'll buy your put option and I'll put it to you at $1 and keep your 10 cents. If it goes down to 85, Armando might be thinking, "Oh, this guy's a fucking idiot. Candy bars are going to 50 cents next week. I'm going to sell him $1 candy bar and get a dime, and he's going to end up with a 50-cent candy bar. Fuck him, sure. I'll take your dime any day of the week." So you're putting something to somebody, okay? So you're agreeing on a certain price at a certain day, and when that day comes, let's say the candy bar went to $2, right? Well, you agreed to sell it, to force me to buy it at $1. That's your option. Okay, I sold it to you. I get to keep the dime. I'm not explaining this well. I'm really sorry. I get confused with the candy bar thing. I'm sorry. Okay, but when you have a $100 stock, okay, if I sell a put option, okay, that means somebody else can put that stock to me, and I'm going to pocket some money. They can force me to buy it at $100 no matter what the price is, and I keep the option premium. We'll call it $5, okay? So when the option closes at $101, that guy isn't going to force me to buy his $101 stock for $100. So he's pretty much out, okay? He's out of luck. He essentially gave me $5, and the stock went up $1, so he only lost $4. Not a big deal, okay? But I keep my money because I didn't get the stock put to me, because nobody's going to force me to buy $101 stock for $100. He'd lose $1. Calls are a little bit easier to understand. If the stock's at $100, okay, I can buy the option to call it away from somebody at $100. Okay, I can say, hey, No matter what the price is, I can call, somebody could call my stock away, or I could call their stock away. Let's say I sold a call option on the open market. I'm saying, you can buy my stock next week for $100, give me $5. You know, not sell it to me, but buy it from me. That's the difference between a put and a call. It's the same $100, you get premium. Somebody's forcing somebody to do something. With a call option, somebody is forcing somebody to call it away or to sell. With a put option, somebody is forcing somebody, they will put it to you or force you to buy it. And you get money for that because this happens in the future. It's just a contract of buying something in the future and you get paid. Well, why do people want to do that? Well, if I can force you, let's say it's at the top of the internet bubble. There's a $100 goofy internet stock and I buy a 95. I say, I can force you to buy it at $95. I might pay $5 for that. The stock might drop to $10. You know, I paid $5 for the right to sell it to you for 95. So it drops all the way down to $5. I buy it for $5 and force you to buy it from me for $95. That's a pretty good profit. You know, call options are the same way. You say, well, why would you sell the option to have your stock taken, or why would the other guy buy that? It's because he thinks it's going to go up past the premium price. If he's going to give me $5 to sell it to me for $100, it's because he thinks it's going to $110 and he can pocket $5. He's trying to, he's trying to use me. Both sides are trying to use the other. One side is thinking I want to use it for insurance, is typical, but that's not really what the little guys do. But the big guys use it for insurance. If the stocks are going up really quickly, you can insure yourself against a lot of losses by buying put options. You buy the put options, and the stock can't drop any lower than that price of the put option, no matter what the market does, because you can force the person to buy it, put it to them at that price. So does that understand put and call options, at all? You can sell a contract to some mysterious guy in the sky to buy your stock at $100, and you might want to call it away because you have an option to buy it at 100. If it goes to 150, of course you're going to buy it for 100. If it drops to fucking $80, you're not going to buy it for 100. That's your option. You, the owner of the option, has all the rights. Now, these expire on a certain day. Another good thing about options that I like is it forces you to take profits or losses and start over. One of the things people don't do in the market often enough, in my opinion, is take profits. Since options have an expiration day, you're either taking profits or losses, and it's on to the next one. Now, people don't do it very often, but you can exercise your option anytime prior to the expiration day. And people probably don't know this either, but you can also exercise a market or an option after hours until 4:30 by calling your broker, who will execute it in Chicago, because the market closes at 4 p.m., but the option pit market in Chicago stays open an extra half an hour, but you have to call your broker to do that. You're buying the profit loss from the current price for a set period of time for a fee. No, you are creating a contract. No, you are creating a contract for a certain set price in the future. There's no such, you're not buying any profit or loss or anything like that. You are simply agreeing to buy it at a certain price in the future or sell it at a certain price in the future. And the person selling that contract gets a premium. The person who creates the contract, some people call it buying options. What it's really called is writing options or creating the option. The person selling the option, it costs them the premium. They're selling it, they pay the premium, the buyer gets the premium, but it has nothing to do, option to acquire the profit and loss. That's kind of true the way, that could happen, but that's really not really technically accurate. It has nothing to do really with the profit or loss. You are simply saying, I'm going to buy that Honda Civic. I'll buy your used Honda Civic for $10,000 next Friday. You know, it's that simple. Whether the price of Honda Civics goes up or down or sideways, none of that. So you're not buying any profit and loss from the current price or acquiring for the, no. All you're doing is saying, I'm going to buy your Honda Civic for 10 grand, you know, 2 years from now. I have options going out 2 years. You know, NVIDIA is a fabulous fucking stock and it's going to go crazy. It's a $93 stock. It's going to continue to go up. God knows it might be $400 2 years from now. I don't know. They paid me $6.80. We'll call it $7 a share. Okay, $7 a share to agree to buy NVIDIA stock 2 years from now for $55. So it's just starting its bull run with its fabulous Pascal technology. What I'm saying is, if somehow the greatest technology they've ever made in the history of the company causes the company to collapse in half, I'll buy your stock. So if NVIDIA essentially collapses in half 2 years from now, I will own NVIDIA stock. If not, that $7 in cash, by the way, sits in my account and I can use it. I can take that $7 and invest it in something else. It's my money. I can do what I want with it. Well, you can't actually spend it until the option expires or until you buy the option back, because I sold it. But that option, even though it's 2 years from now, and NVIDIA hasn't really gone up very much since I sold it, it's already showed a $300 profit. I could buy it back for a $300 profit. It's pretty, it's a large, that's, I don't know, it's like a $4,000 investment. So 300 bucks is not that much on that size investment, but it's only been, I don't know, a month, maybe 2 months on those options when I decided to do that. And if you think about it, it's, that deal is kind of like a bond to me. It's about a 5% rate of return. If I was to actually have to buy the stock 2 years from now, you know, it's a little more than 10%. Overall, and over a 2 year period of time. That's not very good, but it's like a bond, and it's a really, really safe investment. NVIDIA is not coming anywhere near $55 over the course of the next 2 years. I can promise you that. That $6 option today, you know, it's a little 6 and change. It started at 7. It's going to be, you know, it's going to go to 5 and 4 and 3. You know, it'll be 50 cents. You know, maybe 8 to 14 months from now, and I'll dump it. I'm not going to hold on to it if it's only worth a few $100. But, you know, I'd like 2,500, maybe $3,000 out of that deal. I'll move on to something else. But that's an example of why you might sell put options at a very low level, is just, you know, raise yourself some cash and, you know, watch it slowly, make yourself a little bit of money and, you know, buy it back, whatever. If you think a stock's going up substantially, those put options, you know, become worth less and less and less value, and you can buy them back. You sold it for $5. If you want to buy it back for $1, you've made $4. So you don't, even as the seller of the option, you don't have to wait until expiration day. You can buy it back on the open market. You're not buying it from the same guy, you know, that you sold it to. You're just buying on the open market, and the market makers figure all that out, of course. But you know, the option tree, you can trade the options themselves. Let's say you bought a call option on the Honda Civic for 10 grand, and Honda Civics went to $30,000. You don't have to wait around. You could either execute it immediately by calling your broker, or you could just sell the option on the open market. The rise, you know, the part you were getting to, so glad I came, is that the rise in the stock or the loss in the stock, depending on if you own the put or call option, is going to rise with the underlying asset, right? And the thing that I don't get is, I'm not sure people that throw around the word derivatives like it comes from Satan really know what they're talking about, or really, I don't know why they think I shouldn't have the right to either buy insurance on my stock or sell insurance to somebody else. That's what derivatives are. Derivatives are puts and call options. They're the use of those together in different ways to try to insure your money or to try and leverage it. Some people use call options by trying to leverage themselves because look at a stock like Priceline. In order to buy 100 shares of Priceline, you need about $140,000 just for 100 shares. But in order to trade options on Priceline, might only need $20,000. So you can trade much, much less. As I pointed out on, the $100 stock might be a $4 option. So that's each share, and you have to trade either 10 or 100 blocks called minis for 10. Most stocks don't even have that. But at any rate, if it costs you $4 and you're the owner, that's like $400 to handle, $10,000 worth of stock. And some people really like that idea. The problem is it's a wasting asset, which means that every day that goes by, it's worth less and less money. So if it's not working for you, it's just sitting there doing nothing, it's working against you, and it can work against you all the way down to zero. So you have to be careful. You wouldn't want to put, let's say you have a stock that's worth $100. You could say, well, I will give you the option to sell it to me for $1,000. It's not going to $1,000. You can put all your money on that. Next Friday, I'm going to buy your $10 stock for $200. Well, great, except you're going to lose all your money, 100% of your money on Friday. It's going to be all gone. However, had the stock gone to, $1,010, you'd only pay a penny or a nickel for being that stupid. You would have made a lot of money, And some people lose a lot of money doing that. Some people make a lot of money doing that. So when might you want to do that? Well, you might want to do that at the bottom of a bear market when a company's been posting a penny profit. The recession's over, things have turned around, and it's reporting day. Well, you're assuming they're going to report 2 cents or 3 cents, which is not that many cents more, but it's 200 or 300% more profit and revenue. And that's going to substantially move the stock. So you might want to buy some call options, not necessarily to leverage yourself, but just to throw $1,000 at some stock, and overnight you could easily make 1,000, 2,000, 5,000. You can, at a fairly good, not a crazy type risk, 20-fold your money on stocks like Google and Priceline and these big technology stocks for the first few to several quarters of the next bull market after a bear market. And all that happens, like I'm pointing out, it's not that 2 cents a share is an astonishing amount of money to make. It's not. It's only that it's gone up 100%. And the stocks are going to move because of that. Great, it's gone up 100%. The recession's over. They don't really care about the 2 cents. They care that it's going to make 4 and 8 and 16 and whatever later. So, Armando, that's put and call options. And as I said, people use those in different ways. People like me will let the money come to them. As I pointed out the other day, I was asked Bulldog to see how he would do it. I roll them out weeks in advance, but I don't take the money every week and then resell it every week. I sell them out in a string at the same $100 price because the ones that I'm cashing out or expiring are 4 weeks old. Those 4-week-old options are 250% more valuable when I sold them than doing it next Friday every week. So every week, it's the same thing. I'm selling options every week. I'm collecting money from options every week. I'm just doing it out 4 weeks. The one I'm cashing in is 4 weeks old instead of a week old, and the one I'm selling is out 4 weeks instead of out 7 days or 9 days. And that increases your profits by 250%. Why anybody would sell them on a week basis, in my opinion, is because they don't know better and they haven't really thought about it. They said, well, they add it up incorrectly. What they actually do is they'll say, okay, If I add up all of the weekly options 52 times, this is what I get. And that's pretty good. And that's true, but it's not good enough. The reason that that strategy doesn't work all that well is because if you're trading them on a weekly basis, next week the stock might go up and you have to chase it up to get that same premium again. You can't multiply 52 by the number you used because the stock goes up. That's going to be a whole new number. It's going to be a whole new price. It's going to be a whole new kind of risk because you're chasing the stock up. I'm not chasing the stock up. I'm chasing the stock out in time at the same price, which oddly enough is much safer and produces a 250% greater return. You know, I guess, every time I say that, in my mind, I don't point this out, but in my mind, I'm always reminded of the Navy SEAL films when they say, doing it right and success has its, it has its rewards. Doing things properly and cleverly. Nobody's trying to trick you or fuck you in the stock market, but they're not necessarily going to tell you everything because they want you as a client. But doing things, doing things properly in the stock market has greater rewards than doing it poorly. And poorly is a bad word because people doing it differently. There are ways to reduce your risk and make more money. And that's unusual. That's an unusual concept as far as I can tell to most people's minds. Most people think if you want to make more money in the stock market, you have to take more risk. That is not true in every situation. It's not. And I just explained one way why it's not. Anyway.